Hello, welcome everyone. It's Thursday. I'm so excited to see you. How long do you say Happy New Year? I guess you can't say that anymore. It's February, but Happy New Year, everyone. And I'm super excited about 2024 and all the things that are happening in the pipeline. We have a special guest today. I'm so excited that I get to introduce you guys to Sue Ellen, and we're going to talk about some trends, recruiting trends. I know there's some companies out there, some managers, some leaders who could be struggling to retain top talent. So I brought an expert, y'all. I wanted to have this candid conversation with Sue, who has an amazing recruiting firm, and really get some insight into what's happening in 2024, what can we expect, and how can we navigate throughout this time and really set up our business to what? Gain profit. It is all about profit for your business. So how can we utilize our talent and recruiting to have these people who are productive? So I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to bring Sue up to the stage so she can give us some insight about her recruiting firm, and we're going to dive right in. So welcome. Yay. I'm so happy. So a little bit of a background. Me and Sue met about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. It's at a merger and acquisition event, and we kind of just hit it off really fast. Great people gravitate towards each other. And I wanted to reach out to her and have this conversation about recruiting because she is the best in the business. I'll just say it.
Thank you. That's flattering.
Let's get into it. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I stumbled upon recruiting about 8 years ago. I've been in sales my entire career, and now I sell people, which is fun and dynamic, right? It's an interesting way. I really enjoy working on the business consulting side and helping them find the right talent, plug the right talent in to maximize their profits and maximize their business, right? And so I work with closely held companies here in Houston as well as nationwide. Any positions from sales, marketing, HR, admin, and accounting, finance.
Perfect. Thank you for that. So let's just dive right into this interesting conversation. We want to talk about 2024 trends in the recruiting. So I think you would be great. Like, what are you seeing out there? What is different from 2023 or the same? What should leaders be mindful of when it comes to this season of recruiting great talent that will stay?
Yes, perfect. Okay, so let's just get started. Little look back on 23. Mid 2023, we had a ton of opportunities and nobody to fill the jobs, right? So the economist said we had 0.7 of a person available for every one open job in the United States, right? Not even a full human being. So it was competitive. It's still, that has not changed, right? In 2024, it's a big, I think it's a grueling statistic. You hear business owners struggling to find talent and top talent on that, right? We're not trying to just fill seats with bodies. And so we're still seeing that trend follow into 2024, which means that the competition's fierce, right? We've got to do everything we can as employers to market ourselves, to look at employer branding in a different way, because these candidates are smart and they're going out and they're researching everything. The way your brand stands out in the market tells a lot about your reputation and who you are as a business. And they're looking at all of that. They're turning down, they know they've got everything in their back pocket, right? And so they're turning down opportunities that may be offering a decent and marketable salary, but don't have the big benefits packages, don't have what everybody loves to call work-life balance, which I hate that, but
work-life balance. I
don't think there's ever a balance. I think you get into work and you love what you do, and you find a dynamic shift in things, right? You don't feel like you have to go to work. It's not the Sunday blues, right?
Yeah. This is really
Great.
good because I hear people talk about company branding, but who's taking the time to educate the CEO and like tell them what the brand means? Because some people may like, oh, my logo is really nice, but you're saying it's the benefits, it's the
Yeah.
communicating of the total package. Is that what it is?
Right. So when you're looking at employer branding for potential employees coming on and what they're looking for, they want to look and understand your culture. So if you're not mapping any of that on social media, it's a huge miss.
Mm,
If they don't see any type of culture activities for your business on LinkedIn, or depending on your business model, what social platforms you leverage,
yeah.
they're researching that in advance. So talking about culture, obviously the work-life balance, which it's so hard. I like to call it work flexibility versus a balance, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
our younger generations are the largest workforce coming in, and that's what they're looking for, is that flexibility, whether that's maybe working from home, hybrid a few days, if that works with your business model, or fully remote. Yeah, that's a whole nother ball game though, right? That's a There's a lot that we could have a whole session on fully remote work and how to do it right and how many people are failing at it. Um, but the workforce is shifting and employers are saying, hey, we want you back in the office. And
Okay.
it to build the culture, right? You I don't know how personally to build a culture of remote employees. How
Yeah.
do you get people to connect? You're not having water cooler conversations. You're not eating lunch with your work bestie. Those things just can't organically happen when you're
Yeah.
working remotely, sitting behind a screen from home.
Hmm.
And so hybrid options are really appealing because
Yeah.
it leverages the ability to build your culture and give the flexibility that an employee is looking for.
Hmm. Hmm.
Balance.
Balance.
So say.
Very good.
So when you talk about employer brand, to kind of go back, you're looking at the culture piece. You've got to be marketing your jobs.
Mm,
Your job descriptions are no longer just a set of skills that you're looking for, or average amount of time in the workforce, or things of that nature. You have to use a marketing technique to get and attract these individuals to come to you. And you should
mhm,
be planting seeds, right? So when we talk about workforce planning, when I discuss this with my clients and in our talent masterclass, we're looking at the long game. If you've got leadership positions that you're looking to fill in the next year, 2, 3, 5 years, you should be planting seeds now. You should
mhm,
be identifying candidates now and starting to have the conversations. And you can
mhm,
do that in so many different ways, right? It could be a happy hour or catching a coffee with this person, just
mhm,
building a relationship early on. So when they decide it's time for them to make a shift, they're calling you first, and you're not having to engage a recruiter like me for a leadership position.
mhm, mhm.
You've got to be smart, and part of that is the employer branding piece.
And proactive. I hear that too, what you're saying. So, just talking about those trends again, you said in 2023, there's a 0.7% of a person for every job. That was eye-opening.
Yep.
And for the employers, they need to, because that's still that same thing is happening in 2024. They need to be creative with the branding. I know you mentioned the kind of like experience, but are you seeing any advancements of AI or personality tests? I would love to get your take on the candidate experience. And do you like personality tests?
Absolutely. You should always have some type of assessment in your interview process. If you are
Mhm,
not utilizing a behavioral assessment, or even a Colby, a cognitive assessment, or a Wonderlic, you're missing out on understanding the big picture of who you're hiring, right?
mhm,
You can have behavioral interviews all day long and everybody leads with their gut. But you know what we do is we naturally hire ourselves, and that's not what we need, right?
yeah.
So you don't need, for me, for instance, on the culture index, I'm a trailblazer, right?
Mhm,
I don't need 20 trailblazers in my organization, right?
yeah.
That would be chaos. Right? one of me is enough. So it just allows the employer to see a bigger picture of that candidate. And some industries require certain, cognitive testing, right? I have a client that loves the Wonderlic, and the Wonderlic maps back. They do a good job mapping back to kind of to the direct position, but it's giving them a cognitive assessment along with a behavioral that you can add on a behavioral option. But you've got culture index, Wonderlic, behavior or predictive index, DISC. I mean, there's so many. If you don't know which one to choose, let me know. Right? I'm happy to have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
I feel like some do a better job mapping back to the specific role, and that's super helpful in your hiring, right? If it's mapped back to an admin assistant versus a wealth advisor, there's different attributes that you want in each of those individuals, and it helps identify where their strong suits are and where they're weaker at, and that's okay, right? None of us are perfect at everything.
Yeah.
And it's just a huge tool and a big miss if clients aren't integrating that into their interview process right from the get-go.
And I love what you said about making sure, like, we're not doing a personality test just to do a personality test. It's mapped back to the job. Just like, oh, you are a red and I want another red, the color ones.
Right.
So I love that tip. I'm interested into getting your opinion on, because I still can't stop talking about the 7.7%.
It's shocking.
I know, right? Who has the true power in recruiting, in your opinion? Is it the company? Is it the candidate?
So the candidate is still leveraging the most power in this relationship right now. There's less available, and you're poaching from other clients, right? They're all working. Our unemployment rates are super low, especially in Texas. And so everybody's working. They're not going to make a shift unless there's some value in it, right? That maps back to what kind of benefits are you offering outside of just money, right? What do you offer as a business outside of that paycheck? That's what you have to convey in your employer brand, in your social media, those types of things. That's what our younger generation moving up, and even our kind of middle management level individuals that have been in the market and been in professional settings for the past 10 to 20 years, they're looking for it too. We blame a lot on our like Gen Z, like, oh, well, they want this and we all want that. Like, I think that's so unfair. They take the hit for a lot, but I will, you've got to give them credit because they have been able to kind of transform how we work as a community, and still be very productive doing it.
Yeah.
So, did I answer your question, or did I go like left field?
No, you answered it, because in November, I did a whole series on the different generations. So we're at a time period that all 5 generations can potentially be in the workplace. You can, my mom is a baby boomer and she still works. And then the Gen Y, Gen X, millennials, and then the one after us are kind of entering the work, depending on if they're super achievers. But we all want the same thing. They are just more vocal in like, I will go somewhere else. So maybe they're realizing how much power they really have. And like you said earlier, they are looking for it. So they're probably not even going to go to a company if they don't see you talking about your culture, talking about how it is to work there, because they value their time. And maybe they understand that it isn't true work-life balance. So I need to make sure I am at a job that I want to be at for 8 hours a day. That could be something as well.
I loved how you said they're vocal, right? And I think that's not a problem. The other thing that you have to understand when you're looking at resumes, especially if you don't have an outsourced recruiter supporting you and you're doing this in-house, is you are going to see people jumping every 2 to 3 years. And that is the only way they are able to build and climb the ladder, right?
Yeah.
The old time of staying somewhere for 20 years is long gone.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, on top of that, with everything that happened in 2020 with the dreadful COVID,
Yeah.
um, you almost have to assume that tenure since 2020 has been impacted by a layoff, right?
Yeah.
And so don't knock these you've got some kick-ass candidates out there that aren't getting the time of day because they haven't been able to land in the right spot after a layoff.
Yeah.
So it looks like they're jumping. They're not wanting to jump. Trust
Yeah.
me. Nobody wants to change jobs every year. Let's be
Yeah.
clear. Like that is
Wow.
not a fun thing. It's one of our top stressors, right? One of the top 5, I believe, is changing
Mm-hmm.
jobs. And so just keep that in mind. Keep it. I would encourage everyone to keep an open mind when looking at a candidate's resume instead of just automatically sending them to the trash bin. If they've got the skill sets, the transferable skills, even
Yeah.
they're not an exact match. Like you've got to stop looking at this. I need industry experience. Now, are there certain clients? Absolutely. You've got CPA firms that need a senior tax manager. Yes. Do they need to have their CPA license? Yes, there's certain skills, right?
Yeah.
Or do they need to come from public accounting versus private? Absolutely. There's certain things that you can't change, but there are a lot of positions that are open that you can take someone and mold them,
Yeah.
train them up in your industry, and they are an exceptional employee. And people are missing that big time.
So I
Sorry,
feel
I'm
like
very passionate.
no, you need to say it louder because I feel like it's going to be so many leaders or business owners watching this video, and they need to resonate with what they're saying because you're challenging the status quo. The status quo is not even that you are in the same industry. You have to have the same title because I am not reading that resume. I'm just looking at your titles. And if you are an HR coordinator and not an HR generalist, next. Like,
Okay, that's a prime example of where there's a lot of missed things, right? If you see a coordinator title for HR, but they've been in a small company or maybe a mid-sized company for 5 or 6 years, they've likely touched every single thing across HR, and they just were never given the title generalist.
yeah.
Right. And so, yeah, titles can be super misleading. It's a guide. You need to look at a resume as a guide to, okay, do I see skill sets that are transferable to my position? Do I think this person is generally the right fit? Right. Like, look, I'm not going to take someone that's been in the CPA world or in a accounting world and say, hey, let's go do sales.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, they're going to look at me like I'm freaking crazy.
Yeah.
You can have someone that's been in hospitality or even waiting tables or things of that nature that may be a good fit for an entry-level sales role. And then you can switch them and move them over, and then they've finally landed in corporate. And that's what they've been trying to do, but they've been struggling because no one will look at them.
That's
You know,
so true.
You know, I am not going to lie. When I go to a restaurant and there's a really good waiter or bartender, I'm like, I want your contact information.
Wow.
And sometimes they have no interest, right?
Yeah.
And they know what they do and they're happy and they're making their tips. But anybody that's money motivated for tips over here, you can plug them into a sales role. You want money motivated people in sales roles, right? Like, and so you just have to think outside the box. And I love you, like you said, challenging the status quo. Stop doing that. When you talk about AI, whew, there is a lot.
Yeah.
You know, so things that in the recruiting industry, AI has been around for a long time, not to the extent that what we're seeing it now and how it's changing over time, but to the extent of an applicant tracking system, right?
Yeah.
Large companies that have applicant tracking systems in place that are automatically saying, okay, this person doesn't have the keywords, virtual trash bin, virtual trash bin, virtual, right? 500 applicants and it nails it down to 10.
Yeah.
Which I have a love-hate relationship with that because of what we just talked about.
No, really.
It's so hard. And it's a great tool. You've got to leverage technology, right? If you don't, you're going to be behind the ball in every regard. And so you have to leverage the right tools, but you have to be aware of the pitfalls in them as well. And if you don't have someone physically looking at those applications, you could really be missing a quality candidate, a unicorn is what I'm calling,
a unicorn.
Purple squirrel.
That I never even looked at it from that perspective. Like, I've used applicant tracking system since the beginning of my HR career, and you are right, that is the same thing. So I love that you brought that up. Like, let's level set AI. It is not this dun thing. We've actually been using it. Now it's enhanced, and we do need to sharpen our skills and use it, in a different way. But don't be scared of it. You've been using it.
Yeah, and sharpening your skills. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. I was like, that was a good point.
On the candidate side of things, they are leveraging AI. And why did they? You are. Building resumes becomes a little bit different. When I talk to individuals, yes, go ahead.
No. Say so. If you know that candidates are using AI for the resume, what is your technique to cipher through that? Or do you need to cipher through that?
I mean, I don't think you need to. I think if you've got a tech savvy candidate that is leveraging technology to make themselves more appealing to the market, what's wrong with that? Now, if you have a candidate that is copying and pasting everything that comes out of, and they just say, hey, write my resume, I think that's wrong.
Okay.
That is not, and can you decipher it on the back end? I'm sure there's technology for it. I don't have it. But when you have a candidate that writes out their whole resume and they go in and they say to ChatGPT, hey, optimize these words.
Yeah.
Who is that doing? No one.
Yeah.
Help me create a tone, a voice that is commanding in my resume or on my LinkedIn profile. Or look, we are just overloaded with information every day. I don't know the statistic off the top of my head, but it's just constantly flying in at us. And so you've got to stand out. Just like an employer has to, so does the candidate. And leveraging those tools and creating a personal brand for them is huge, especially when you're looking at candidates in the marketing field. I mean, I have worked with someone who just recently, and she's at the University of Texas. Her goal this summer is to be up in New York for an internship. She's got great experience, but we redid her resume, we optimized her LinkedIn, and you have to do that if you're targeting certain things. So, lots of stuff.
I know, right? We got too passionate on both ends. So I do want to be respectful of everyone's time. And as we wrap up this conversation, is there any tips or advice you want to give? And you can do to the CEOs, the leaders of the company, or you can do the candidates, or both. So any last tips and advice to help either parties when it comes to those talents?
Absolutely. So our business owners, our leaders in companies, look at your benefits plan. You need to have an expanded benefits plan that will make you stand out from your competitors, right? What that looks like is it's more than your dental, vision, health, and 401k. Those are standard in most companies, right? It is, hey, I have a lawyer on retainer if you have any legal issues. It is mental health awareness. It is gym memberships and wellness. I even had a client that offered pet insurance as one of their right? But you've got
Yeah.
somebody, I loved it. When I
Yeah.
was working with them, I'll be like, you won't believe that they have pet insurance. Do you have any animals? You've got to stand out, right? Part of that, and announce it to the world. Put it on social media. Talk about what your employees get outside of the typical benefits. So expanded benefits. Be more open about hybrid. I am not a proponent for someone working completely remotely and having a remote workforce unless that works for your business model. But be flexible and excuse me, and be more open about what does that look like for your employees, right? If you've got someone that you have to be in the office every day, but they have a daughter that plays volleyball and her games, she's on JV and her games start at 4 p.m. Perfect. Work through lunch and you can leave at 3, right? Yeah. Like, and just make sure they're covered and it's communicated really well. You have a lot of companies that are also looking at 4-day work weeks. This won't be for everyone, but it's a huge benefit. And I'm not talking about 980s. I'm talking about a true 4-day work week.
Okay, I know we're trying to wrap up, but I want to give a story to that because we preach the same thing to our clients. And we had a client that really would like traditional, you got to be here 5 days a week, 8 to 5. And it took them losing a really good employee. Like it was no negotiation. She's like, today's my last day. Of course, I did an exit interview and come to find out she's taking care of her mother. And she just, every day she was going in, it was dark, and she was coming home and it was dark, and it was messing with her like mentally. And so after losing that great employee, then they kind of decided to go ahead and do at least 1 day a week off. But I just wanted to caveat.
Absolutely. That's a perfect example, right? That is protecting your employees' mental health. If you look at it in a bigger picture, if you can get more production out of one employee and they leave an hour earlier or they come in later because they're dropping off their daughter or son at the school bus or whatever, it's huge and it helps you retain your staff and they become more loyal to you in return.
Yes.
And so if I had a sick parent that I was taking care of or a sick child or whatever that looks like, and my employer was like, hey, I've got you.
Yeah.
You better believe that even when I'm working at home or at the hospital or whatever, I am putting my full effort in.
Yeah.
You can carry a laptop anywhere and there is Wi-Fi everywhere.
Everywhere. That's so true. Yeah. I did not mean to cut you off, but was there another tip you had?
It's so hard to nail it down.
No, and I got super excited when you said that. I shouldn't have cut you off.
I think one last thing is looking at the forecast for 2024. On average, the U.S. economy is adding 150 to 200,000 jobs per month. Okay. Texas is adding 50 to 60,000 of those jobs in Texas, right? We are the 9th largest economy in the world. So there is a lot of opportunity upcoming for our workforce and our candidates on that side. And they're smart and they should be. Yeah. We want them to be. And so just keep in mind that on the candidate side, they are leveraging AI. I wouldn't ding them for that. Look at your workforce plan over the next, 2 to 3 years, even this year, if you haven't. You really should, if you're targeting a 15 or 20 or 25% year-over-year growth. Yeah. Employees are a part of that, right? You can't get there with your current staff. So got a workforce plan. When are they coming on? At what, how long does it take for them to onboard and really get into, if you're looking at a sales position, it might take them 6 months, depending on what your sales cycle is, to start producing. And so how does that impact your bottom line and how far out do you need to be starting the search? On average, last statistic that I want to bring up is An entry-level position takes roughly 42 days to fill. Okay. I think it takes longer, but that's the statistic for an entry-level role. A higher middle management and upper level role takes over 65 days. So you can't have an oh shit strategy. You have to have a talent strategy.
Yeah.
You can't lose a key player and look at the rest of your leadership team and go, what are we going to do? Right.
Is that a national average or a Texas average? And do you think it's different?
I believe that's a national average. I don't know that I don't have the statistics specific around Texas. I try my best to really, I've already plugged into 3 economic reviews this year. I try to stay on top of this stuff.
No, that is such good data, level setting leaders' expectations. Because when it comes to recruiting, it's like expected start date Monday, and you want me to post this today, and you want somebody Monday. And I think, is it because CEOs and leaders are thinking, because there is maybe they are assuming the talent is out there, like everyone's looking, but you already
2 to 3 years ago during COVID, you had 6 to 7 people available for every one open job. Okay. Now 0.7, right? So you can't be on the back burner thinking about this. You have to be leveraging a resource like you, Miracle and Hope, to go in and interview your current workforce and say, hey, how many people are looking to exit? Like, what assessments are we doing to know where our current workforce stands in our companies? And if you have 40% of your workforce saying, I don't know, I might be looking, like, talk about scary. Even if it's 10%, and you're a small business and 10 to 15 employees, it's a huge impact.
Yeah.
Any company, I feel like 50 employees and below, if they hire, it trickles down and it is crazy. But to speak to that too, and I'm sorry, you stop me because I can keep talking about it.
I keep on talking.
But you've got to retain your current employees, but you also have to get rid of the bad apples. Quit saying, oh, it's okay, or oh, we'll just do it one more time, or oh, we won't put them on a PIP plan, or oh, stop it. Your A players are going to leave. If they are dealing with C players every single day, you bet your bottom dollar they're out and they're looking.
And that's tied to the culture. You as the leaders can't articulate the culture you want. And then you can quickly let someone go if they're not fitting the culture, but you don't even have that articulated and expectations laid out. So when you do hire that unicorn, like you said, they either conform to the badness that's going on, or they leave.
Yeah, they're going to be gone, in my opinion, within 60 days, if they stay that long. Once they realize what's going on. And even though it puts a blip on their resume, they don't care because they're not going to put up with it. And
they'll tell you what was the reason leaving of the culture was a toxic manager or a micromanager had to leave. Like, they'll tell you.
Develop your leaders. If you've got micromanagers on the team, get them off. Nobody wants to be micromanaged. Look, and you can have a great leader that, hold on, let me develop this thought real quick. People leave bad leaders. End of story. You hear it everywhere. It's all over the news, but for some reason, we keep them on our leadership team. And I don't get it. I think another thing to think about is really looking at your current workforce and leveraging their skill set. So if you have an opening in HR, what if your receptionist has her HR degree and you just don't even know? Why aren't you pulling her in? And you can have an outsourced HR resource like you guys train her up in that role. And so, one, it's going to save you money on recruiting
Oh,
fees.
yeah.
Two, it's giving your employees a path to grow, which
Mhm.
everybody's looking for.
Mhm.
And three, overall, why not develop your current workforce? Like, I
Exactly.
mean, huge. Same on
Mhm.
the leadership front. There are so many leadership coaches, um, professional development opportunities for leaders, classes. There's so many. It's just unheard of. That's another huge benefit is professional development for
And
yourself.
and what's happening is the leaders aren't taking the time to leverage, like you said, outside consultants that can see clearly about what's going on in your company and like give advice and help you along the way. And so I think this is a great segment to go ahead and let people know how they contact you for strategic recruiting. And then I'll make sure I put it in the body of this email. But if you need help, do not go at it alone. You have an expert on that you have access to. So let the people know, how do they get in contact with you?
Yeah, for sure. So you can go to my website, sueellenbirch.com, and find out. I run 4 different verticals. I do career coaching, resume writing, work on the business advising piece, talent masterclass, and recruiting. So go to my website. You can reach out through there, or you can reach me on email at sueellen, SUEELLEN, at bridgeadvisors.com with a Y, as you can see right there. Bridging the talent gap. So,
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think I'm going to have to bring you back on so we can just have a full tangent about random things and invite people into our conversation. As you can see, we're super talented, but we wanted you to walk away with actual actionable nuggets in a resource for talent, because 0.7%, y'all gonna get tired of me saying it, 0.7%. So we have to do things differently, and I do want you to reach out to get that help. So thank you guys for watching. We will see you again next Thursday. Bye.
for having me.